You drop into an ancient human world with nothing. No tools, no shelter, no stored food. And most people wouldn't make it past 72 hours. Your first crisis isn't hunting or fire making. It's water. Within hours, dehydration begins clouding your thinking. By day 2, your blood thickens, your body starts shutting down, and you haven't even addressed shelter or food yet. Every task that takes minutes in the modern world, finding clean water, building shelter, starting fire, locating food, becomes an hours-long battle against exposure and injury. This is what survival actually meant for our ancestors. Not a single dramatic threat, but a cascade of simultaneous, escalating failures, each one capable of ending you. Your real nightmare begins with the calorie math. You need to consume roughly 3,000 calories per day just to maintain basic function in this harsh environment. Nearly 500 more calories than your modern sedentary lifestyle requires. That's the energy cost of hauling water from distant sources, building shelter with your bare hands, tracking game for hours, and maintaining constant vigilance against predators. Every calorie you don't secure today makes tomorrow's survival exponentially harder. Within 6 hours, your first water crisis hits. Dehydration doesn't just make you thirsty. It shuts down your ability to think clearly about the very problems you need to solve. You stumble toward what looks like a stream, but here's where modern instincts become death traps. That clear, flowing water could be teeming with parasites that will cripple you with dysentery in 48 hours. You have no way to test it, no time to boil it, and your body is already entering the early stages of shutdown. You drink anyway, because the alternative is certain death by nightfall. The shelter problem compounds everything. You need protection from exposure, but building even basic windbreak takes hours of gathering materials, weaving branches, and creating a structure that won't collapse the moment wind picks up. Your hands, soft from modern life, start bleeding within the first hour of working with rough bark and thorny branches. Each cut becomes a potential infection site in an environment where a simple wound can turn septic without antibiotics. You're racing against sunset, knowing that dropping body temperature overnight can trigger hypothermia even in moderate climates. Food becomes an obsession that consumes your every waking thought. Forget hunting large game. You lack the tools, skills, and energy for multi-hour pursuits. You're reduced to scavenging, digging for grubs, identifying edible plants, hoping to stumble across carrion that hasn't spoiled. But here's the cruel irony. The stress of survival actually increases your caloric needs just when calories become nearly impossible to obtain. Your body starts consuming its own muscle tissue for energy, weakening you for the physical demands ahead. Fire represents your most critical technology, but creating it from scratch reveals how helpless modern humans have become. You need the right type of dry wood, proper tinder, and the technique to generate enough friction or spark to ignite it. Most attempts fail repeatedly, wasting precious daylight and energy on efforts that produce nothing but frustration and blisters. Without fire, you can't purify water, cook meat to kill parasites, or maintain body heat through the night. It's the difference between survival and slow death. By day 3, the cascading failures accelerate. Sleep deprivation from cold, discomfort, and hypervigilance clouds your judgment. Minor injuries from tool-making attempts become major problems without proper treatment. Your immune system, weakened by stress and poor nutrition, becomes vulnerable to infections that your ancestors' bodies were adapted to fight. The psychological toll hits harder than expected. The constant fear, the gnawing hunger, the bone-deep exhaustion that comes from never feeling safe enough to truly rest. Your body's reserves are depleting faster than you can replenish them, and every survival task becomes monumentally harder. After seeing how brutal those first 72 hours would be, From the water crisis to building shelter with bleeding hands, which challenge do you think would break you first? Finding safe water or creating fire from scratch? Drop your answer in the comments below. The psychological toll, though, might be what actually ends your survival attempt. By day 4, the real killers reveal themselves, and they're not the dramatic predators or starvation you'd expect. Your body is breaking down from the inside, and the compounding failures that started as minor inconveniences are now life-threatening emergencies. Sleep becomes your most precious commodity, but you're averaging barely 6.5 hours per night. And that's when you're not jolted awake by every snap of a branch or rustle in the darkness. Your brain, already foggy from hunger and dehydration, starts making the kind of mistakes that separate survivors from casualties. A small cut on your hand from gathering firewood, the kind of injury you'd slap a bandage on today, becomes a ticking time bomb. Without modern medicine, a wound exposed to soil and bacteria in an environment without antiseptics or antibiotics can turn septic within days. You watch the wound redden and swell, feeling heat radiating from the infected tissue. In your weakened state, your immune system can't mount the response it needs. What starts as a minor mishap spirals into sepsis, fever, and delirium, all while you still need to find food, maintain fire, and defend yourself. The mental toll hits harder than any physical hardship. The psychological burden of constant hypervigilance destroys your ability to think clearly. Every shadow could hide a predator. Every sound might signal danger. Your nervous system, flooded with stress hormones for days, begins shutting down non-essential functions. Appetite disappears just when you need calories most. Sleep becomes fitful and fragmented, leaving you stumbling through survival tasks in a haze of exhaustion. The isolation compounds this. Without language-based social connection or the reassurance of group presence, your mind turns inward, cycling through fear and despair. By day 6, even small mistakes cascade into catastrophic failures. You twist an ankle while scrambling over rocks, a minor injury that would heal in a week with rest and elevation. But rest is a luxury you can't afford. Each step sends shooting pain up your leg, slowing your ability to gather food, escape threats, or maintain your shelter. A twisted ankle that would be inconvenient in the modern world becomes a death sentence when mobility determines whether you eat or starve, whether you reach shelter before nightfall, whether you can flee from danger. Your week-long ordeal reveals the staggering gap between survival and civilization. Every convenience you take for granted, clean water, reliable food, medical care, climate-controlled shelter, represents thousands of years of accumulated knowledge and technology. Our ancestors didn't just survive these conditions. They thrived well enough to develop language, art, tools, and eventually the complex societies that shield us from the brutal realities they faced every single day. The fact that you're here to imagine this scenario proves they succeeded against odds that would break most modern humans within hours.